Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this morning, which is our Express webinar. We're going to get started. A few people still to join us. I'm sure they come online shortly. So welcome along. Please use the chat facility if you do have questions for the end of the webinar as we go through. We're going to try and make it as Express 30-minute webinar, which will be followed towards the end with an optional 15-minute Q&A if you've got time to stay around and you want to sort of have a chat with us about anything that we've shared with you today. We'll be hanging around for 15 minutes following the webinar. So use the chat facility anytime during the webinar to ask us any questions so we can prepare for that Q&A towards the end. So welcome along to what is going to be our successful email marketing webinar. So sharing with you a few secrets around that. In 2009, Wall Street Journal published an article called Email is Dead, and ironically, that was the most emailed article of the day. So certainly email is not dead. It's just changed a lot, especially over the last few years. So we're going to share with you some new information about what's happened in the world of email marketing and what we found really works in that space. So my name's Tony Eads. I'm the Director of Brand Strategy at Brand Manager, and joining me is also Daniel Hamilton. I'll speak a little bit later. He's our HubSpot Certified Digital Interface Designer.
Good morning, everybody.
So coming up on the webinar, just to give you a rundown of what we'll be covering, first up, a quick intro to how the world has changed. As I mentioned before, it has shifted. So what are the core facts and why email isn't working probably as well as it used to at the moment and why you need to change. Then we're going to cover off the 4 C's to effective email marketing and what they are. And then Daniel's going to talk a little bit about how you can use the power of marketing automation to really create leverage within your organization and really harness email marketing and make it more effective. And then, as I mentioned before, there's that optional Q&A at the end. Just to give you a bit of a feedback on the data that we're using, there's a number of different sources. Obviously, as certified partners with HubSpot, we have access to a number of great pieces of data. A survey, for example, that they conducted with 1,000 English speakers over the age of 21 in office-type jobs. 150,000 different email campaigns that approximately sent 500 million marketing emails and 6.4 million one-to-one emails that have sent by users of the HubSpot program. So a lot of that data plus more we're using today. So it's not the be-all and end-all, if you like. Some things need to still be tested and tried, but hopefully we'll give you a few ideas of what seems to be working in the market, and then you can implement some of that into your email marketing sort of campaigns as you move forward. So let's start with how things have changed. So 80.8% of people now read email on mobile. So obviously it's very, very important, and we're going to cover off that about how you make email more engaging on a mobile device. 88% prefer HTML emails. So obviously, if you're still using text-based emails, it's now time to move forward using HTML, which gives you a lot more ability to use images and graphics and infographics in particular. 65% of, again, this is all based on those survey results I mentioned before, prefer mostly images in an email. So we've become less assigned to receiving emails with lots of text. So the traditional e-newsletters that you used to send out with hordes and hordes of text, which still a lot of emails I receive from businesses still do, obviously don't cut through or work anymore because people just don't have time. They want to see images, short links, and things that they can actually send through. And we'll cover off how to design your emails to be more engaging. 89% of marketers say email is their primary lead generation, yet by 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationship online before they even contact you. So content and inbound marketing, which again we'll touch on, and how email plays an important role in that is going to be very, very important. And as the little graphic to the side, it's all about relevance, as you can see there, what you want to say, but more importantly, what the consumer wants to hear is that sweet spot in the morning, in the middle there, which actually is where everything needs to happen. So they're the facts just to kind of set the scene. To put it in perspective, here's a graph there for you, or a bit of a chart, if you like, of how things used to be when things were simple. That was back in the days when before email, before internet, when things were very simple. It looks a little bit more like this today. As you can see, it's become a bit of a communication overload, I think, in terms of the landscape. And consumers have become sensors of their own communication. So now they're actually switching off from email in particular, certainly with junk mail filters and a whole bunch of other things. Buyers have become smarter. They know where the opt-out button is now, whereas before they probably didn't. They also have higher expectations, and we need to meet those head on with our email marketing campaigns to get more engagement. We also just incidentally need to remember the Spam Act of 2003, which means that any email that you do send out, you have to have the consent of the person you're sending it to. You have to clearly identify yourself, and you also have to have a functional unsubscribe facility. As I mentioned before, that's where the smart buyers of today know where that facility is. So if it's not proper content for them, they're going to find that opt-out button pretty quickly. So how does email fit into inbound, and what is inbound? So just as an intro, inbound is basically content marketing. So it's delivering the right content to the right people at the right time. It's all about just understanding what the buyer persona is, who is your target market, so you can write content that's relevant to them, and also understanding the buyer's journey. So what is the journey that they go through from being somebody that's, as the graph shows there, attracted to your website and looking for a particular service, right the way down through those four different methodology stages to they become a closed lead or customer, and then how we delight them thereafter. That's the essence, I suppose, of inbound. It sort of works as well in another dimension. If we look at the next graph, is like a marketing funnel. So top of the funnel is people coming into your website and finding you. Middle of the funnel is where they're actually in the conversion mode. They want to find out more about you, and they want to now consider you against your competitor. And then bottom of the funnel is where they're really analyzing you as the person to deliver the solve the problem, the solution that they're looking for. So where does email marketing fit into this? Well, basically, it's not where a lot of people think, in the top of the funnel. Using email just to go out to people you don't even know, strangers, doesn't have the same cut through as middle to bottom of the funnel. So you need to be looking at email as being an educational process of pushing people down the funnel from middle down to bottom, rather than it just being a blanket email that you just send out to people, a lot of people on the database that you don't even know, or more importantly, don't even know really who you are. So here are the 4 C's that we're going to get into straight away here. So the 4 C's in terms of how to make your email marketing far more effective. So firstly, we need to look at creative, or designing for success. So first and foremost, as I mentioned before, it needs to be designed for mobile. So think in terms of the mobile first policy. We generally do that when we're designing websites. We do that for e-marketing as well. So think of how it's going to look on the device itself, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking at mobile devices now, up to 70-80% there, or 78%, as you can see here, of 18 to 44-year-olds check email or read their email on a mobile device first. So if your e-marketing or your e-newsletter is too heavy in terms of words and doesn't work well on a mobile, it's probably not going to get read by 78% of the population there. The other thing to think about is 2/3 of the market, based on the studies that I mentioned before, prefer mostly images. So images are engaging. We live in a very visual and colorful world now, so we need imagery. We need to show images. And 58% of marketers, again surveyed, don't actually use a lot of images or don't practice that. So it's obviously a very important thing to be looking at to cut through from your competitors and do something just that little bit different. Also, designing in the correct format is important, and making sure that you don't sort of cover any of those kind of spam issues or junk mail issues that might go in, and we'll cover a little bit about that later on. Experian did a review of 130 million IP addresses sending 30 trillion emails, and they found that 85% of those emails were actually categorized as spam. So there's a bit of work to do just in the structure of how your actual email should look before you even send it. Here's a quick graph just showing the importance of design on performance. So 72% is that subject line. As I mentioned, the reason, if you've got too much cell in the subject line, it's probably going to be picked up by a junk mail filter. And as I said before, 85% of those emails that are being sent out are going to end up in a junk mail filter. Although it's been technically delivered, it's never going to get found. And then sort of working down the graph there, 61% is the message, which we're going to cover in a while, about how that relevant message has to be, and then layout and images. So if you get those first 3 or 4 right, you're going to find a lot more effect in your email marketing campaigns. And finally, in this section, design for action. So create an attractive masthead. It's nice to have emails very personal. So having, if you're doing an e-newsletter, have a nice masthead. The masthead should be on brand, so it is easily identified as a communication from your particular company. It also makes it friendly, so it should be very simple infographic. Some of the emails that you would have received from us follow that same principle. Body text should be 300 to 500 characters. They reckon they've done. If you have a look at the graph on the top right there, that sort of shows from 100 characters going all the way through to in the thousands. As you can see, in terms of click-through rates, they tend to drop off quite dramatically the more content you actually get. Same applies in the bottom graph there. When you look at the subject headers, the longer the subject header, the less click-throughs that you get. So keep it short, sharp, and sweet. To give you an idea, download, the word download in a subject heading has been proved to increase the click-through rate up to 15% because people think, oh, there's something of offer, there's something I need to look at, there's something I need to read. Other good words to use are tomorrow or secrets, just tend to have a better click-through rate than other words in a subject heading. But avoid the word free, the $sign, or the exclamation mark, as we tend to try and use to create action, because that's been proved to be, whether you use it with or without, they've done joint tests, A/B testing, and found that it had no effect whatsoever. It didn't improve or discard, so it doesn't really affect anything by having the word free or any of those symbols inside. So moving on, number 2 is content. So delivering the right content to the right people is vital to get cut through with your e-marketing program. So the first thing is understand who your buyer persona is. Now, buyer persona is more than just a demographic. It's about understanding who your buyer is, what their buying motives are, and what their pain points are, because that's how you're then going to be able to understand what information they want to receive from you as the market leader. It's time to clean out those inactive subscribers. It's not a numbers game anymore. Just sending out to thousands of subscribers and not getting a good click-through rate. You're not expecting 100%, obviously, but what you want to do is make sure that if you've got permanently inactive subscribers, why have them on your database? You're sending them to people that don't want to receive your information. Your email should be friendly and conversational, as email was first designed. You send emails to people generally very conversationally, very friendly, so your communication to get more cut through should be done in the same way. And then what to say. There's 4 main areas you can look at in terms of your e-marketing. You can solve a problem for them, and this could be sharing a blog post, for example. You can get them to save money, so you can be creating an offer, so there's an incentive there. You can make them smarter by educating them, by giving them a link to a download of a guide or an ebook or a case study, or you can entertain. If that's your sort of type. Entertaining can be a difficult one, because what's sort of entertaining for one person might not be that entertaining for another. Personalization is very important if you can get to that as well. E-marketing programs help you do that because, again, email is personal. So personalize the email. Sending it from a person as well, or a recognized group, is very important. So if you don't want to send it from a person in your organization, then maybe send it from a recognized group, i.e. team and your business name or the department that it's being sent from, rather than info at or something less generic. Personalized content creates a higher CTR. So if you can put words in, this particular webinar that we're running in the next couple of weeks is around the Blue Ocean strategy. We've got 30 or so people attending that so far. And one of the things we did with that is on the email is actually personalized. Just to blow that up on your screen there. Instead of doing the personalization at the beginning, as most people do, as you can see sort of down towards the bottom where we really want the call to action, I've entered a name in there. In this case, it's my name. So it's Tony, this is your invitation to join us. So when they've read down there, it just gives it that warm and friendly call to action. And then a clear CTA button, which we'll talk about later, about then how to register for the full agenda and then actually go ahead and become part of the webinar. Especially as webinars become, more popular nowadays, and obviously you're doing this one today, it's a great way to start that kind of warm process of sharing information with people. Dynamic content, just to cover that off. Again, dynamic content takes it one step further. That's where you segregate your database and actually send customized content that's relevant to the subscriber. Now, this is becoming more and more important. They say it's better now to target email to smaller groups where you can actually target the content relevant to them than it is to actually try and send a blanket email to your whole database. A lot more work involved in the back end, but at the end of the day, if it's your investment in getting better return from your e-marketing, it's certainly worth looking at. The graph at the bottom there shows some results there from a survey. As you can see, by creating dynamic content to subscribers that's relevant to them, open rates increase, click-through rates increase, and more importantly, conversion rates increase as well. And finally, in this section, behavioral buying. Content is king, but obviously context is queen. If we can understand the buyer and the buyer journey I mentioned before, we can create emails that are triggered at the right time of that buyer journey. So have a look at making the content even more relevant to people when they're actually there at the right time they need it. So that's about, again, tracking activity of your audience, what they're doing online, how they're engaging with your business, maybe your top clients, and then being able to send them relevant email at the right time. As you can see, the bottom one there is open rate goes to 33% and the conversion rate to almost 4% just by sending targeted emails based on their click rate and what they're doing on the website at any particular time. Number 3 is campaign. So when you've got all that together, you now need to organize your campaign. So the campaign is basically about, first and foremost, managing your list. B2B marketing, generally with their lists, retain only 75% every year. So even if you've got a great database now, it's going to go down by 25% every year with people changing companies, leaving companies, that kind of stuff. So you need to make sure that you're continually growing that list. So you can do that with blogs and subscribe now panels, offers, and things like that throughout your website. Limit your unsubscribers. They reckon 69% leave you because they receive too many emails from you. 56% unsubscribe because their content is not relevant. So as you can see, their content's number one, and also frequency of emails, not sending too many things out at once. 50% open the emails within 24 hours, so most of half your activity happens then, but it then sort of trails out to 80% of the opens by day 12. So don't get too discouraged if people don't act within 24 hours. It can take up to 12 days in some cases, depending how busy people are, to actually open up your email. And finally, and probably the most important, have a campaign strategy. We work on generally 12-month strategies with themes for each campaign that we're going to run, so we can run them throughout the year. So have a whole campaign strategy with a clear goal of what you're aiming to achieve with your remarketing campaign, and also what you're going to send each time you're going to send it. So really important. Okay, so the final part of, timing is critical. I wanted to cover that because that is obviously very important. Again, this can vary depending on industry, but based on the data that we have to hand and also the testing that's being done that I mentioned before, Saturday and Sunday have a higher click-through rate than during the week. 6 a.m. seems to be the best time to send stuff. Most unsubscribes, as you can see from that graph below, happen on a Tuesday. So you want to try and be, sending your stuff out later in the week, trialing it on a Saturday and Sunday, and then using the analytics to see if your click-through rates go up and your interaction is higher, because we're very, very busy, as you know, during the week. A lot of people in the mornings after 6 a.m., if you're sending them at 9 or so, will generally do the culling process where they will just scan emails and delete them before they've even read them. So just a little bit about timing and scheduling for everything. So finally, call to action before I hand over to Daniel. So great offers need to be sent to actually engage your audience. That's why you need that goal, as I mentioned before, in terms of call to action. It's very important to understand. For general business style emails that get sent out, they say that 10 to 20% open rate is good for businesses. So as I was saying, you don't have to try for 50 or 100%. 10 to 20% is good. And also people coming to your website in terms of unique visitors, 2% of those that sign up is a good sort of gauge as well to work on. So you've got signups on there. But once you've got them and you've sent the emails, you then need to get interaction. So make sure, as you can see on the right there, integrate email with social. Put the social media posts on there. Get people interactive with your social media. Call to actions, there's a few examples of ones we use. They're just simple little boxes that just sit either at the bottom of the email or to the right of the email, depending on how you've designed it. But a call to action will send them to a landing page. And the landing page is important. You don't want to send them through to your website where you lose them. You want to send them through to what you want them to do. Have a clear direction and a clear understanding of what your e-marketing needs to do. If it's to send them to your blog post to then engage with you via content, then do it that way. If you want them to engage through downloading an ebook, send them to that landing page. So very important to follow call to action so you get a result from your e-marketing campaigns. Measure everything, because we live in this wonderful digital world. Everything can be measured properly. Who clicked on what, who converted on the landing page when you sent them there, and also very, very important nowadays in our social media landscape, who shared your content, because that's a good gauge of what content you send people actually like, because if they like it, they will then share it. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Daniel now, because a lot of this stuff shows that there's a lot of work involved. We're going to give you a demonstration of how marketing automation software, and there's a few choices out there, we're going to be using HubSpot for this demonstration, can actually run your marketing for you.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. As Tony was discussing, the secrets of successful email marketing, especially in relation to inbound marketing, can be done on any platform. We'll show you quite quickly how HubSpot manages it, and in particular, how the email that you all received to join this webinar was designed and its effectiveness, and the key things that you can take away from that as an example. Looking at the email that you all received there, some of the points that Tony's covered, these are working examples of it here. So we've got a clear, nice, clean visual start off there. It's responsive, it's on brand, it's a big welcome webinar invite heading there. You've got the title of the webinar, nice and simple for people to pick up on, with a personalized introduction. You can use the personalization further on in emails. Most good platforms out there these days allow you to pick up not just first names and last names, but companies, other pieces of data that you might have about someone there. One key thing to remember about an email is to make it about one single thing. It's a clear message, it's a clear piece of communication, and you're talking to them about one topic. It's not going to be too much for people to get. Once they've got that information, they've got that message there, it's a single call to action. It's eye-catching, and it's going to draw them off the email, make them engage with you, and really convert them into another step down the sales funnel there. I quite often get asked questions about what are the key metrics that we look at when we look at our email. How successful has it been? And there's three key things I like to look at when I send out every email. First one is the unsubscribes. You don't want to get too many unsubscribes, because that means you're sending out irrelevant content or not good quality content. You should always be sending out high quality, targeted content to the people that are receiving your emails. So the unsubscribes are a reflection of that. The next one is your open rate. So once they've got the emails, how many are opening it? It's similar to your unsubscribes. If it's not relevant, people aren't going to open. If the subject line on the email isn't engaging, they're not going to open. They're just going to breeze past it. And as Tony was saying, those continuous people who are inactive, they should probably be removed from your database, or you can nurture them in a different manner. Get the persona more accurate, and then you can get them engaged with you. And the last one is the click-throughs and the engagements. So these are people who have opened the emails. They've already seen the subject heading. It's caught their eye and they're looking at it, but they might just breeze past it. You want them to at least read it to a point where they're going to click on something, take action, and engage with you. So those three key metrics are unsubscribes, open rates, and the engagement, the click-through rate on your emails there. Now, looking at HubSpot itself as a tool, as an example, we can see how the email that you all received is built up in there. On the left-hand side, I'm not sure if you're able to see it on the size of your screen you're on. I'll run you through quite quickly. This is a representation of how Tony's points as an email strategy works in a real-life email. So at the top there, we've got the person you're sending it from. It's not coming from info at Brand Manager. It's coming from Tony at Brand Manager. And he did invite everybody to this webinar. We have a segmented list, and we look at who would be interested. And then Tony writes the email out to you, inviting you to your webinar there. The campaign is the next topic there. That's an advanced feature that allows you to do in-depth analytics, in this case, based around webinars. And the type of email is a webinar there, which, again, it allows people to segment what they're going to be getting from you, so they're only going to be getting relevant emails from you. Another couple of good points if you are using different things to HubSpot is make sure that your programs, it's quite helpful to have a WYSIWYG editor, or what you see is what you get. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we can type in our words, put in our pictures, format everything the way it will come out, and the preview pane on the right there shows us how we're going to be getting it in the end. There's also other tools in HubSpot that allow you to see it on a mobile, on a tablet, before you even sent it out there, so that you can make sure it works across all those devices and not miss out on that market segment who use their emails on their mobile phones. There are other key things to remember when you're writing your emails. Preview text. A lot of email programs out there will give somebody a preview text along with the subject. Make sure that picks up on the top point of your email. That way, you're going to make sure that you've got people opening up your email. Plain text and web versions. Plain text is getting a bit out to date, but web versions are still quite relevant. If people can't receive the email properly for whatever reason, maybe it just got corrupted on their email server as it came in, something you can do about that. Make sure you got a link to a web version so people can pick it up and they can share it around the web as well. The web version allows them to share your email across social networks, sort of in a generic format, so that you're not forwarding on your personalized email to other people. That way, you're going to get more engagement outside of your existing database, and you can attract a bigger new audience from that. One key thing that I'll touch on is that everything it needs to be, or all emails need to be sent out to people who are wanting to receive them. That comes down to that relevant content. So when you learn about the people in your database, you should be segmenting your lists based on the personas. And this comes back to inbound marketing that I'm sure Tony will be doing a webinar on in the future. And you can send out emails that are not just personalized, but they're persona based, and they're going to be relevant to the people who are receiving them. Now, the next thing is just a highlight on the call to action. So this one here, you guys obviously clicked on because you've engaged with us to come to this webinar. The tool in front of us shows how it works. We've attached it to a campaign so that it's like all the analytics are being collected, and we can look at those at a later date, really in depth to see how effective this is. It's eye-catching, it's clear, it stands out from the email, and it tells people what they're going to be doing when they click on it. In this case, they're going to be reserving the place in the webinar. From there, it has to be on brand, and then it goes to a landing page. Now, that landing page is where people actually perform the action. Emails, as great as they are, still can't have forms in them. You still can't have a certain level of technology in an email. It's just a limitation of the format. So you got to send them to a landing page. Don't send them to your web page homepage. Don't send them to somewhere else in your website. Send them straight to a specific landing page that has the offer on it and explains what they're going to be doing once they've clicked on that thing there. As I've said, once they get to a landing page, they're going to be getting up to a form. Now, this form is where people are going to be entering in their information, and they're going to be, in the end, essentially becoming a customer or moving from a visitor into a lead, or from a visitor, to a subscriber, a lead, and then a qualified lead into a customer, hopefully in the end result there. Marketing automation or email marketing automation is a process that allows you to do a lot of that automatically, and we'll show you that in a second. The form you can see in front of you is the one that you guys would have filled in. It's got your first name, your last name, email. It gets to know a bit about you. More advanced forms have questions that are smart. So once you already know that piece of information about somebody, you're going to be asking them a different question. The key use of a form, though, is a way to get to know each individual, to assign them to a persona. So you get to know who they are. You get to know what they're interested in. It allows you also to segment your database so that you can then send out emails in the future, which are more relevant to people. Another key point for doing online marketing in an automated fashion is it keeps your database not just new and refreshed with new people coming in from the sharing of social networks and such, but it maintains all your old contacts. When they move businesses, you're not going to be losing them. They've been engaged with you, say, previously as a customer. They like you as a business, as an individual. They're going to move to a new company. They're going to take you along. So you can then earn new or retain business through people, not just through the companies that you're doing business with. Now, coming on to the big key thing here, successful email marketing has to have automation behind it these days. Otherwise, you're investing way too much of your time in doing a simple email, which it's just not going to pay off for you in a return on investment. This is actually the email webinar follow-up automation that you guys are all going to be receiving. So quite quickly, you'll be receiving the effect of this, what I'll explain in a moment, in the next few days and then later on in the week. So you'll be able to see how workflow automation allows you to basically not do any work. It's a set and forget, and you can set it up properly in the first time, and then it can nurture leads through that sales process. On the screen there, we have, after one day, we're going to select an action. In the first case there, I'm selecting to send out an email. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you're going to get in the next day, and there are some further actions that are off screen there, but just keep in mind that you'll be getting some emails from us, and they're going to demonstrate to you the power of automated emails. Some of the other key points about workflow automation, especially in HubSpot, is it's not just limited to sending out emails. We can set contact properties, and especially one of the great new features for HubSpot is you can do if-then branching, which if you're from a programming background, it just allows people to be segmented down 2 different funnels, and you can make decisions about what actions you're going to be doing from then on. So that's a quick overview about email marketing and how to really make it successful for you. Once you've done that, of course, you're going to have to send it out and you're going to have to analyze it, see how effective it was. This is the dashboard of HubSpot. You can see here how we're tracking the website engagement, the email engagement. This can be done by date. It can be done by persona. So once we've identified who people are who are receiving their emails, we can then look at how those individual personas are tracking, and that can be registered against goals. So what your end goal is for customers, what your end goal is for subscribers over a certain date and time period there.
Great, excellent. Thank you, Daniel. And I think one point, just to go back to that button that you said as well, I think that a lot of people go wrong, and one thing we found works really well is that the actual call to action button, avoid putting the word submit on there.
Definitely,
you know?
yeah.
It's got to be that call to action, isn't it? Tell people what you want them to do and tell them why they're clicking that button, and it makes it so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah, and as you said, Tony, earlier on, email is conversational. It's one-to-one, essentially. It's how it was originally designed. So don't put in generic things in there. How would you ask somebody to engage with you in real life? Use that wording. It's going to get the better engagement and click-through rates.
Beautiful. Okay, well, that's hope you've enjoyed the idea of this. Is sorry if it shouldn't have been too rushed, but we wanted to get a lot of information because there's a lot sort of happening in terms of email marketing. We have recorded this session for you, so we'll be sending out the recording. Feel free to rewatch it in your own leisure, and also to share it with other people. Please spread the word. We do this as part of our own initiative to share information and help people get better results out of their actual e-marketing campaigns. We're going to do a quick Q&A for those that can stay around. If you can't stay around, please go on to hubspottraining.com.au if you want to find out more about inbound marketing and how it can really grow your business. And feel free to take up the offer of a free inbound marketing introduction session with us for 30 minutes, just purely focused on you and your business. So if you have to go, please do. But if you can stay, please use the chat facility to just type in. It should be on your screen there, chat facility or questions, whichever you want to do. Type them in now if there's any particular questions that you'd like us to answer. We'll hang around for a few minutes and answer anything specific you might have about the presentation or e-marketing. One that we do have here is the pre-header preview text important to email success.
Yes. So when the email gets delivered into an inbox, as I was saying, the preview text is going to be coming up for some people in some email programs. It's like that little snippet you get when you do a Google search below the title of the page. It's giving them a hint about what's going to be in that email there. So you're going to be wanting to get that one key point, the main subject of the email. Keep it short. Keep it down to like a tweet, 150 characters. And you're not selling something there, you're just telling them what's in the email. So then when they get into the email, they can read the full offer that you have in there.
Fantastic. Yes. So another one coming in. So please feel free. This is the time to ask any questions, anything that we may have missed out on, or anything you want to know more about. Word limit for the subject line to deliver a punch line. Now, I think there's no limit at all, but I think it was around 50 characters. I think I found was probably up to 50 characters. The shorter.
Yeah, spot on. There is no technical limit, but people are obviously going to be limited by the size of how wide their display is in terms of their phones or the column that they have their emails displaying in on their computers. 50 characters is a good guide. Just keep it punchy, keep it on topic. And don't use those tips that Tony was saying. Keep away from the word free and your dollar signs.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. Question here about what is the cost for the email marketing from HubSpot? So email marketing is a part of HubSpot, but suggest if you want to have a look at on the screen now, the hubspottraining.com.au, there's all some pricing and stuff there for you in terms of us helping you in terms of any of those sort of areas. Or if you go on to hubspot.com.au, you'll see all of the different fees. So from about $200 a month gets you your start with inbound marketing, which includes e-marketing, but also a whole bunch of other stuff, not just e-marketing. So you have to think about, as Daniel was saying, it is part of inbound marketing. It's only a very, very small part of this massive new move with inbound marketing. So, if you're going to take on email marketing with HubSpot, you probably need to take on the whole inbound strategy.
Yeah, and on top of that, the email marketing can be done on other platforms, as we've said. HubSpot is the most powerful. We found the easiest to use. And as Tony mentioned, it has so many more features that really enable you to do automated inbound marketing. Email marketing is just one tiny part of inbound marketing these days. It's a really, really useful tool, but it should be used in conjunction with many other tools, social networks and things like that.
So a question here, this one's for you, Daniel, because it looks a bit technical. How do you use SEO in your emails?
Okay, so SEO. Emails can't be trawled like a web page. They're not going to be indexed and displayed up on a Google search result. But you are going to be wanting to use sort of similar philosophies behind it. Single topics, to an email, and things that are going to be relevant to the people that are going to be receiving them. Some email providers, let's not mention Google, for example, with Gmail, do trawl emails that come into your inbox to deliver you targeted advertising. But when you're sending out emails, it's not something you should be considering. Just make sure that your emails aren't spammy, they're not salesy too much. You're there to provide information, you're there to educate people, give somebody an offer, give them relevant quality information. If you wouldn't want to receive it in the first place, there's a good chance people wouldn't want to receive it from you.
Fantastic, some good advice. So last chance, if you do want to type a question into the panel, please do so now using the questions tab. Otherwise, just news that we will be, if you're happy with this, please let us know as well, because we'd like to do more of these short 30-minute webinars focusing on different aspects of marketing. So this one was particularly focused on just e-marketing, but there's a whole bunch, as I said, around inbound marketing, this whole new way of doing marketing, which really does create good return on investment. But it looks like we're out of questions. Everybody's stunned, so that's good. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. We will share this recording, as I mentioned before, and please feel free to spread the word, share the recording, and we'll keep you informed of upcoming webinars from Brand Manager. But from myself, have a good day.
And thank you very much.